Just changing the format a little bit today. What we're going to do, or what I'm going to do, is review some of the main news events that are occurring and have been rumbling on for the past several months. By doing that, what I'm doing here is representing what most people watching this will agree with. Not all of you, I know that, but I would describe myself now as leaning more towards the Nigel Farage camp, having moved away from Labour years ago and moved away from the Conservatives. But I don't want to go too much into that. So what I want to do today, just to start off with, is look at our friend Rachel Reeves, who's obviously the Chancellor of the Exchequer, and the furore surrounding her shenanigans, for want of a better word. If we're to believe what's come out recently in the news, her former colleagues at the Royal Bank of Scotland, apparently, while she was working there, she wasn't an economist, as has been reported in the main media channels and newspapers. It would appear that she was a relatively lowly manager in the customer relations department, which is fundamentally different to working as an economist, where you are working on strategic matters. So she would have been more tactical within customer relations, as opposed to as an economist, where you're taking real strategic decisions that have a profound effect on the running of a company. So it looks as though she's actually lied on her CV, which for me, as the Chancellor, is unforgivable. She lied and she's been found out. When you're in a position of power like that, which is perhaps second only to being Prime Minister, you are supposed to conduct yourself with honour and integrity, and you are supposed to command respect from the British people, taxpayers, pensioners, everybody. But when you tell a lie of that magnitude, it is basically unforgivable, because most of us out here in the real world, I'm retired now, but I came from a world of marketing and sales at international levels. If I had lied to that degree on my CV, I would have been, and it was found out, I would have been fired. The moment it was discovered, that would have been it. So the question is, when we have the Chancellor who's lied, why is she still in office? We are supposed to have people there who are the bastions of good conduct, proper practice. We're not supposed to be a third world state banana republic. We're supposed to be British, which means we have certain ways of doing things, and she's not done it. She's lied to the government and she's lied to the people of this country. And as I say, she should resign. If there's any honour, any respect within her, she should resign and be replaced. Having said that, you need only look at the mayhem she's currently unleashing on the UK economy. I was reading this morning that the FTSE 100 index, that has responded by taking a rapid nosedive with the economic policies that she's putting in place. I was just speaking to somebody just half an hour ago who runs his own business, who was running through how the Rachel Reeves corporation tax changes will impact him. He's going to be paying, I think it's something like, he said, an extra £60,000 in tax a year. And now, whereas before he was considering taking on one or two new people, with the impact of the increased national insurance contributions that will be the responsibility of the employers, and with the minimum wage having been increased, he will now not be employing another two people. That's just one micro example of the lunacy that has been unleashed by this Rachel Reeves, who portrays herself as an economist when it looks as though she wasn't actually an economist. I repeat, with the Bank of Scotland, she apparently was working in the customer relations department. That one beggars belief, because they were planning with the new policies that she implemented with this latest round of tax increases. It was supposed to be a stimulus to the economy. And anybody I speak to in business, whereas before they were considering taking on new people, they aren't going to do it. Accordingly, this begs the question, where the hell is the growth going to come from that we need? Where? So this is a party, the Labour Party, who have no experience in business matters. Keir Starmer was the leading barrister, King's Counsel, and one would imagine that somebody of such a status would have a degree of charisma about him. But as with Rachel Reeves, these two, they have no personality. They have no communication skills. I don't like doing ad hominem attacks, but when you watch Rachel Reeves in action, when she's being interviewed or delivering one of her speeches, it's as if you're listening to a Dalek. There's no empathy there.
Exterminate! Exterminate! Exterminate all pensioners!
She isn't able to communicate properly. She just delivers a robotic dialogue that skims over how real people, are really being impacted. All you need to do to see how things should be and how they are, just compare Donald Trump giving one of his speeches compared to Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. They are planets apart. Donald Trump can stand up in front of a huge crowd and deliver a 1-hour speech that's more like a conversation. It comes over as if it's a personal conversation with you. He has a special communication skill where he's able to pull this off. Whereas Keir Starmer, I'm staggered that he's a King's Counsel barrister. He was one of the leading legal minds in the land. And you would have expected that when he had all that experience, decades of experience of standing up in court, arguing the point of his, or the case of his clients, that he'd have some kind of gravitas about him. But it just isn't there. It's non-existent. And when I say King's Counsel, a lot of the current trends we're seeing from within the Labour Party, it's fully explained when you understand that Keir Starmer was a specialist barrister, lawyer, representing human rights. So this dovetails into one of the key points I wanted to make here about the Labour Party, Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. Basically, they are not nationalists. They don't give a damn about the United Kingdom, Great Britain. They are globalists. They are internationalists. They don't believe in borders. They don't basically believe in sovereign states. They believe in free movement, as evidenced by still the boatloads of asylum seekers, migrants coming over the English Channel. We've had record numbers this year, which destroys the myth by Starmer that he was going to target the gangs. Well, apparently that means he with all the combined might of MI5 and MI6, they've been able to track down some, I think it's a Turkish chappie, who's been supplying small parts for the little launches that come over the English Channel, and he's being hailed as a major find, as one of these gangs, and that's going to be the start of it now, and it's going to have an immediate effect. It will have no impact whatsoever. That one chap removed from the system will be replaced by scores of others because there's so much money involved in it. The simple way of stopping this is to press into service our Royal Navy and to have them policing our waters and, quite honestly, just turning back the launches. And when that starts happening, the message will finally get through that Britain is closed, we're already full to the top, and we refuse to take any more asylum seekers. Just look at what the impact of that. I would just before I started filming this, I was just seeing on the internet that down in Torquay, there's a hotel down there where the residents, not the residents actually staying there, but where the workers there have just been virtually summarily evicted, and they are being replaced by, you guessed it, asylum seekers. Quite unbelievable. This is what's going on. So obviously those coming over the channel, they're not, as I describe them, asylum seekers. They are, let's face it, they are illegal immigrants. And to compound that situation, it beggars belief that while they're making their journey across the channel, they will throw away their passports and their ID papers. Now, if you watching this and I tried to enter the UK without a passport or ID papers, we would be refused entry. This begs the question, just what the hell is going on here? It's reasonably simple to stop this. The usual excuse we get from the government, Keir Starmer, is it's all very complicated, it's all very complex. It's not, it's really quite simple. This is typical lawyer speak, which is they try to make something that's quite simple complex. I think it's called esoteric knowledge, something simple made complicated deliberately, so that then you have the lawyers, the barristers who are called in, and they can charge their exorbitant fees, hourly fees, that we taxpayers end up paying for, which is one of the reasons the budget for the illegal migrants is running currently at £3.5 billion a year. As I mentioned in the last podcast, Rachel Reeves, Keir Starmer were on record as saying pleadingly how they were apologising to the British taxpayers. They were forced to make decisions that they didn't want to do, which was to remove the heating allowance payments to pensioners, which would save the country, the government, £1.5 billion, when it was quite simple. You didn't need to do that. All you needed to do was look after the people that have worked in this country all their lives, paid their taxes all their lives, helped to build this nation all their lives, are committed to this country all their lives. All you needed to do was take that £1.5 billion from the £3.5 billion budget set for illegal migrants, and the problem would have been solved. We've just had the first major decline in temperatures. We've had the first snowfall over the past few days, and it's now literally a case for many pensioners of heat or eat. That is no exaggeration. I've spoken to many myself who were faced with that dilemma, and by the Labour reports themselves before they came into office, removing the heating allowance will result in 4,000 pensioners dying of hypothermia this winter, because they are the generation who believe if you can't pay for it, you don't pay for it, you struggle on, you mend and make do. Those victims will die this winter because they will not turn on their heating. By that event in itself, Keir Starmer, Rachel Reeves in particular, will be complicit in the deaths of 4,000 pensioners. That's what will happen. An absolute disgrace. When our grandfather ran away from home, aged 15, and told a lie, told the British Army he was 16 in the First World War, he was fighting for this nation, and many of his pals were killed in the trenches. He fortunately survived, but he and his pals weren't involved in that fighting, so that just over a century later we would give away our nation to the invading illegal asylum seekers. And it's just going to get worse under the Labour government. So that's the point I want to make about Rachel Reeves today. To summarise, I believe that she should be forced to resign if there's any honour and integrity within the Labour government. But obviously there isn't.